Thank you very much. The arena is absolutely electric. Uzi, you finally did it after all those years, after being so close so many times. What does it mean to you to win this international title and lift the trophy at MSI?
那么多次离冠军只有一步之遥，这次终于拿到世界冠军了，你有什么样的感觉？
其实真的，这是我6年以来一直一个最大的梦想。我觉得今天实现了，真的，我太开心了。我完全想象不到，我现在站在这里，真的我是冠军，我们是冠军，谢谢你们。
I've been trying to win this title for 6 years now. I can't imagine that I'm standing here winning this trophy. I'm super excited for this moment.
Uzi, I think it's absolutely lovely that all your teammates are screaming your name. You put up a great performance, but is there anything you want to say about your team, about RNG and how they've played throughout this tournament to help you get this title?
我们看到所有队友都在这里呼喊你的名字，你有什么对你队友说的？
真的不用，真的。真的我拥有他们，我真的太好了，真的。 除了一直陪伴我们的队友，就是还有一直支持我们的粉丝，真的很感谢一直以来支持我们，谢谢我的队友们，真的很感谢他们，还有我们的所有人。
I'm super grateful for my teammates and also the fans out here that supported us. Thanks everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, one more time, your MSI 2018 champions, RNG!
Vindication for Uzi and the rest of China as they step out of Korea's shadow here on the world stage. And they do it in Game 4 of the MSI Finals. Uzi himself coming up huge in the final minutes of that game to propel them to a comeback victory.
Failure after failure. Uzi has been in second place so many times. He's almost the exception to the rule that you never remember who comes in second, but no more, not today. He is vindicated, like you said, along with the LPL, and he finally now reigns as king.
And also the fashion in which RNG won this tournament. I think back to past MSI champions, and there was lots and back and forth, or even when SKT was winning, Faker would have the incredible games, but there were a lot of times during the group stage where we'd think, ooh, Faker really hasn't turned it on yet. Inconsistent, they're 6 and 4. Uzi here, save for the first day and a half, was unreal good. Always 80 CS up on the opponent 80 carry, record-setting damage percentages, record-setting CS percentages. It was probably the best MSI performance I've ever seen.
And now we even the ledger when it comes to China and Korea for MSI. 2-2 over the course of this tournament. That run from RNG, last 13 games since that loss to Team Liquid, 12-1. 12-1 is unbelievable against the best teams in the world.
Performance of a lifetime, to say the least. Let's go ahead and relive those final moments of RNG's comeback victory here in Game 4 to claim the crown of Kings of the World.
And effectively, all Kingzone had to do were dot the I's and cross the T's. It looked like they were set up for victory, but Uzi, he digs deep. He manages to save this team fight, ultimately falling in the end, but delaying the Baron.
It's a long passage of play that you have to uncouple to really understand what went through specifically Uzi. Massive shoot, buys so much time, aggroes the Baron, and dies, of all things, to a 10-spot hit.
An insane team fight, one incredibly minor misplay to get the Baron, but here, having the guts to just go for it. Seeing the 80 carry out there, stacking the suppression on him, and at that point, Uzi can unleash.
And this is why you watch the LPL. We have the best mechanical players in the world. We will always grab to find moments like that, and they do not hesitate. That when it comes down, when it's a clutch moment, they prove that they are the best in China and now the best in the world.
And RNG was this team that could rewrite what seemed like a script of win the first 15 minutes, win the game. Couple of comeback victories. Look at how big the gold lead was, up to 7.4K in this meta. Unassailable for most, not for Uzi and RNG.
I mean, Jat, you talk about the individual performance from Uzi throughout the tournament, 26K damage in this game alone. It boggles my mind how this guy stepped up onto stage every single time. Never faltered, or almost never faltered.
Yeah, 6 years in the making to try and get to this point, but I also feel like his connection with Ming, his support, has been better than in his history as an AD carry. The Janna plays, especially in this situation, picking Janna into Zyra Khan is often considered suicide, but only once the entire game I remember getting him caught.
It has been 1,891 days since Uzi's very first game in the LPL. 1,891 days. This guy has been claimed by so many people to be one of the greatest to ever play in the ADC position. He finally lifts his trophy, and it's about damn time.
And we're getting a look in right now as Rendon gets to interview a couple of the RNG members, but you mentioned that counter that now resets to 0. I would almost want to flip the script at this point. Hey, the clock starts at 0 for 0 days since Korea has beaten the LPL in a best of 5.
Yeah, you have to eat that one, and you do remember that it's also going to be Worlds in Korea this year, and Korea with a point to prove. Could you ask for a better setup for what should be just an insane tournament?
I mean, listen, we don't know what's happening in the next season of LCK. Faker has been the best player in the world for 4 years. People are now calling Uzi it there. In history, it's definitely still Faker. If I can see SKT making it back to the World Championship,
big if, Jack.
I can't wait to see what happens if it does. But if he doesn't, this could be the start of something amazing for Uzi as the AD carry.
Without a doubt, could be the beginning of a legacy for China as a region as well. But I do now want to kind of bring us back to the series itself and the team as a whole, because while we do talk about Uzi and his accomplishments and finally achieving, you know, this long-awaited dream, there were the other 4 members that we talked about throughout the tournament who had to come around him, who had to play that supportive style and allow him to be that true carry.
Back in the LPL, we recognize RNG as a super team, and you got to see why in this series. Finally, Xiaohu, he's known as the solo kill guy on Faker back at MSI, but he hadn't shown up at the tournament until this series when it mattered. Flashing forward, finding prey on the Malzahar, having an incredible Vladimir game. And then likewise, Ming, Karsa, Uzi. How many times, like how stacked do you have to make this roster? How many times have you watched Karsa internationally and been like, damn, imagine if he was on a team like Royal Never Give Up and then has MLXG behind him?
And I couldn't even imagine Karsa sitting on a bench for as long as he has ever since the playoffs started. MLXG, the star of the playoff run, and domestically, we saw very little of Karsa. We thought we might not see him at all. But starting him, sticking with him even after a loss, said that he would have the read on Peanut, that he could track him. He's known as a smart pathing jungler, and Peanut was certainly second to Karsa today.
Now, throughout the tournament, all members of RNG had their time to shine, but when it finally came to earning the title of MSI champion, Uzi stood out when it mattered most and earned himself MSI Finals MVP.
The numbers he put up this tournament, I do not expect to be exceeded for a very long time. The way he got to 10,000 gold so fast in every game, the way he carried at the back end of so many team fights, truly remarkable.
The meta has been built around mid laners for so long. It was almost no wonder that a player as capable as Faker in the mid lane position would be the greatest of all time. Now we see that when a meta is designed around an ADC, when a team puts all of the resources in, Uzi is finally unleashed on the world.
And amazingly, it wasn't the Ardent Sensor meta we would have assumed. It feels like right now it may be even more AD carry focused than that famous meta that seemed set up for AD carries, and the numbers they make for amazing reading. Finals MVP, easily my tournament MVP. Outstanding tournament.
All 3 of their victories over that 40% mark for the damage share. Only 2 deaths across those 3 victories in this best of 5. As you mentioned, Jat, this performance will likely go down in MSI history as one of the best and probably not be matched for a very, very long time.
Yeah, and I'm super happy for Uzi. He looked probably happier than I've ever seen him. He said in the interviews how happy it would make him to win on the international stage. You got to see the elation afterwards of him as well as the entire team. It's cool to see for someone who's been around for so long. 6 years now professionally and better than ever.
And now the question is, what's next? What's next for this squad? Of course, they do return to their home region. We've got an entire domestic split between now and Worlds. And if they, when we look at their domestic run, yes, they did come away as the winners in the finals, but it was kind of a turbulent road to that point. And so how will they interact with the remaining teams as they return to EDG and the likes of IG, who a lot of people still looked at as maybe being better Worlds contenders?
It just makes Rift Rivals that much more exciting.
Oh my goodness.
Because then you get another look at Rogue Warrior as well. But for Uzi and for RNG, I think they're going to look ahead at Worlds. Like I said earlier, Uzi at any point, he could have retired. Like, he's the most famous player in the world, the most famous player in China. But he keeps coming back because he has the appetite for the competition, because he wants these moments. And like Kobe said during the cast, I think now that he's had a taste of it, he just wants more. And the World Championship is definitely next on the list.
We finally saw Uzi lift off the ground. This is a person who always looked like he was above the competition, but grounded by teams falling apart around him, made some questionable decisions moving around rosters a few years ago, back on the Royal Club name that he really shot up through. This is a chance for him to really cement his legacy and open that dynasty.
A transcending performance from Uzi, and while that happens, Korea to some degree falls back down to earth. Of course, I do not want to discount the legacy of that region and what SKT, specifically as a team, had done. But here again, some of these members on the stage for Kingzone still plagued with international fall downs.
It's really hard after a single best of one to discount the Korean legacy, and that's not what I mean by any stretch of the imagination, but I do think a conversation needs to be opened where we start separating the Korean mystique with the SKT mystique. SKT, for the longest time, have been the representative of Korea, and there are 15 best ofs that they won over the other teams. 9 of them, I believe, are SKT victories, and then it's Samsung and Rock's hero there. So a lot of the members still representing, but it's not the same thing anymore that as we go into best of fives, you automatically lean back and say, the Korean representative has this, because RNG have just undone that.
Yeah, and I gotta say, coming into the tournament based on expectations, this was a massive upset. The fact that RNG win. There was a reason that Korea has this reputation. And also, the last time Korea dropped the finals at MSI, SKT won their first 15 games of the World Championship, maybe 14, the math is close. They only lost a single game the entire tournament. So this potentially could reignite LCK. Maybe not Kingzone, because you could see there was definitely some buckling under the pressure, specifically for Khan. This
there you have
big
it.
Learning experience.
The lower
for
third
them.
you've been waiting for, Frosker.
But that stat is here because of RNG, and also because Kingzone did not carry on the Korean legacy international events.
And they clearly cannot be held as the one of Korea. They are not the SKT. They are not the Impervious team. I understand where you're coming from, Frosker, and because we are sitting at this moment, I think when it comes to Worlds, like you say, the reignition of the hope, the 3 teams coming together and representing Korea, you'd still have to be a betting man to say that we won't have a Korea versus Korea World Final.
Remind
it could
me,
still happen.
Who won Rift Rivals?
You know, I forgot.
North America.
North America did.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
Right. I mean, let's not forget, though, that this series, especially in that Game 4 until the final moments, felt like it was at a tipping point. You said the game itself was at an inflection point. The series, more so, as if Kingzone had been able to close that and even it up to the 2-2. Again, that's where that creeping mentality of the Korean best of 5 and how they will always pull through in the end comes together. And I think that's what makes it even that much more impactful that Uzi came up with the plays he did in those moments, right? To say there won't be a Game 5. I'm not going to even give you that possibility of ringing true to your region's identity.
But the fact that you need a play like what Uzi did, which is just a straight miracle play to even try to make a comeback against a Korean team, reminds everyone how dangerous the LCK are.
Yeah, they made that series so damn interesting. There's a reason we all predicted this series to go to 5 games.
Right.
We actually got cheated out of a game, Dash.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah, but still, the quality of those 4 games was so incredible.
We got cheated out of a game, but we did not get cheated out of a series. To hear more from the champions, let's send it back over to Shox and the victorious mid laner.
Thank you very much, guys. I'm here with Zhao, who, after he received his medals and got to lift the trophy, we talked so much about the rest of the team, but you turned up phenomenally today in this game. What does it mean for you to lift that MSI trophy and to win that title?
这几场你的表现特别的好，想问一下你举起那个奖杯对你意味着什么？
我觉得举起这个奖杯，就是不光对我，对我们整个团队，就是我现在都觉得我们大家走到这一步很不容易。然后 这个奖杯拿了之后，我觉得后边的就是世界赛，不管什么东西，我们彼此之间都能够更加互相信任，就会对我们长远以来的发展都会有很多好处。
Lifting this trophy is just surreal. He's so happy that they are able to make it. After this journey, MSI, they think the team, as a team, they grew so much, and they are more confident in facing any upcoming events in the future.
Well, then I have to ask you, what is next? Is this then finally a team stood up to an LCK team in a best-of-5 in a major final? You guys did it. How much is this the start of an RNG legacy that can go on, especially to the World Championship, or looking forward to the World Championship?
那么很久以来都没有队伍在决赛中 BO5 中击败韩国队了。那么这次 RNG 击败了韩国队，是否是证明你们的传奇现在开始开启了？
我觉得2018年是会属于 RNG 的一年。
You think 2018 is the year of RNG?
Well, I think that's enough. Thank you very much. Congratulations, Xiaohu. Phenomenal performance by him. Back over to you guys.
Thank you very much, Sharks. 2018 is the year of RNG. I mean, it definitely is right now, and that's the thing about only these 2 major international tournaments a year. For Korea, they're going to have to wait that 3-4 months to have another shot of stealing the title back.
I still got to get through the LPL, so just slow it down a little bit, Xiaohu. There's a lot of hungry LPL teams waiting for you. I know the Shy wants his shot.
Yeah, 14 teams in that league as well. We saw how difficult it was for them to get through the playoffs. This moment right now, I don't necessarily think it's the changing of the guard.
Right.
I think Rift Rivals and Worlds are going to tell us that, because we've seen a slow creep of power from the LPL over Worlds. Remember, we saw RNG take SKT to 5 games. We saw WE also make it to the semifinals last World Championship. They were clearly the second best region. One victory does not make you the best region over the LCK. The LCK is going to be hungry, and I just can't wait to watch the rematch.
I think there's just a lot of setup things about China developing, the LPL developing, moving back to single language rosters like we have here on RNG. Just really doubling down on infrastructure rather than just importing star names. A lot less of my players jumping over to the LPL recently. I think they really put their faith in the right positions, and now you're reaping the rewards because RNG are clearly a top 3 squad in the world, and of course with the title, a top 1.
Yeah, hot take. I think the LPL will be the strongest region in the world in 3 years. I didn't think it would be today. I suspected that Kingzone might walk away with it, that LCK will still show such a formidable force at Worlds. But ultimately, with the LDL, 20 teams underneath us in a challenger scene, the LPL constantly expanding to 20 teams themselves, the infrastructure, the influx of incredible talented rookies. We only had 2 Korean imports come into the LPL this split out of over 18 rookies. So a massive insurge of power.
Sick of coming in second to the LCK. They've completed step 1 in terms of shirking that identity here for the LPL. MSI 2018 was absolutely packed with big plays, and you made sure we caught some of the best ones to close out the tournament for the final MSI Big Plays, brought to you by Acer Predator. First up, the Ursha coined Kingzone's huge Baron play as in Game 4 as the Khan Deathbrush. Let's take a look.
It's already secured. Kingzone, can they win the fight? Nethergloss buys some time, filing it. Friends a reply kill. Passes the first. Look at the feathers. They fly the call back. And Uzi trying to do something. He's taken out. It's a double kill, and Kingzone get more.
Classic solo queue, thinking it's all about the Khan. That was all about the support. Rakan Gorilla made a huge play there. I believe, what, a 3-man knock-up and a 4-man swiftness taunt?
That moment, I looked at it and I said, okay, it's Game 5 time. Maybe this curse is real, but the turnaround still happened.
Absolutely. Of course, then we had Mixing It Up, who offered a friendly suggestion to RNG's opponents. May not want to give Uzi Ezreal if you want to win, by the way.
And there's no flash for Uzi, but he manages to get another arcane shift. Lemmy will not find the taunt, but there's enough damage coming out thanks to that Tiamat. Now Lemmy's in trouble. He gets chopped down, taken out, and killed by Prey's auto attack. Xiaohu's looking for a flank, but it's Uzi with the double to close it out. Manages to tag onto Uzi. He uses the QSS. Manages to escape with his life for now. Stands United buying some time. Uzi's just on the front line ADC. The Impale onto BDD.
Never doubt Uzi.
Uzi was the most fed in that Ezreal.
Oh, yeah.
But I also want to point out how they were able to get him champions like Ezreal and Kai'Sa. It was because they were comfortable in absolutely every matchup. They actually gave Ezreal away to Reckless all 3 games in the semifinals. They are the only team that never banned Kai'Sa because they were willing to pick it into anything and also give it to the other team so they could beat it.
Right.
That just displays so much confidence, and the fact that the follow-through is there is why he was able to get on those strong picks so frequently.
Performances like that then force the Ezreal ban, and then, hey, he jumps on the
Back
Kai'Sa
on
and
Kai'Sa.
performs well anyway. So next up, Jeremy Jennings called out Betty's Kai'Sa, who was hunting for kills against Kingzone.
Cancels the unstoppable onslaught. There's the knockup. They've isolated Sion. He will drop, and there's going to be the backline access. Killer Instinct did what Maple could not. This is the huge fight for Flash Wolf. And then he gets focused down, but you still have to respect the arrival. Betty, Killer Instinct into the backline, destroys Frey before he even turns around.
From there, of course, the dominoes fall 1 by 1.
And Betty not really even in our conversation about top ADC, showing that we were wrong there, pulling out the Kai'Sa. And frankly, Kai'Sa is my favorite champion to watch right now.
I mean, and that just forces us to remember the tournament that Flash Wolves had. Again, unrecognized in a sense coming into the tournament. Most positioning them in 5th place, dooming them rather to 5th place. And then the 6-0 start through group stages really shook everything up and gave us quite a tournament.
Yeah, every MSI Flash Wolves has now made it to the knockout stage. Those Pool 1 seeds at Worlds are thankful for
Maybe we'll remember that next year when MSI rolls around. Next, the fine scope felt Reckless's Penta versus RNG was fitting for the EU LCS MVP.
The damage coming through. The Guardian Angel enable XG. Reckless finds a shutdown onto Xiao, who he's able to grab it on damage as well. Brox is still looking to find some more damage. Uzi taking very low. Triple kill over onto Reckless. He's got a big trying to get away from this one. Surely there's no way out. A quad drop for Fnatic's AD carry. Let me wanting to get away, but that should not happen. Broxa wants to provide the CC. Pentakill for Reckless.
Of course, that was a big turnaround pentakill. It wasn't necessarily about the mechanics, but to me it was about the story, because of course that came on the back end of a quadra-kill for Reckless and Caps taking it away, quadra-kill for Caps, and that one not going their way. And then finally, they gave it over to Reckless, the EU LCS superstar. Fun story.
Yeah, what an exciting team that was to watch throughout the tournament. Finally, Christian believes that this is the year of Uzi. He is going to conquer the season.
Well, it
So
actually...
loose Gorilla, and it's Uzi that picks him up. The feathers are going back and forth. The Xiao who dies. Uzi is the last man alive, but he's being chased down. Killer Instinct flashes into the pit. How is he still alive? Uzi is doing it.
Xiao is on his way for him.
Oh, that's straight onto Prey. Ball of the Forge God comes out as well as Killer Instinct. Prey will never give up on doing it.
I think the best part of that is just listening to Deficio scream. Just like lose his mind as he's watching it happen.
All 3 of the casters losing their mind, and then Kobe still struggling to figure out whether or not that was even game-saving in that moment, right? I think that maybe they've saved the game. Who really knows?
That was one auto attack on Baron short, because he did do the auto attack on Baron, of being one of the best AD carry team fights you've ever seen. The speed at which he would ult to be able to flash behind the pit. But they followed it up right after 30 seconds later for the clutch win.
Exactly, for the victory. Thank you all for tweeting out all tournament long, and I hope you continue joining the conversation as we continue the 2018 season.
There's still more.
There is still more. Here it comes. Shox is standing by for another interview, this time with RNG's top laner.
Thank you very much. I'm here with Let Me, also an integral part to RNG's success today. Let Me, it must have been very emotional up on stage. If you look at the games now, what do you think it came down to? Why were you guys so much stronger than Kingzone today?
这肯定是非常令人激动的一刻。然后想问一下你，为什么你们会比 KZ 强这么多？
也不是强这么多吧，就是确实就是我们打的会比对面更稳健一点，就对面打的很着急那种，失误给我们找到很多，也并不代表我们打的比他们好吧，我觉得。
We're not that much of a better team than KZ. However, we're a more consistent team and we play cautiously. Whereas KZ, they're a bit anxious and they rushed a bit, and we're able to take their advantage.
Okay, great analysis there. Let Me, in a team where so much is always about Uzi and not very much people talk about other players very often, this was really a team performance. What does it mean to you to step up on this international stage and show that you are a world-class top laner?
就以前可能大家聊到 RNG 都会聊到 UZI， 但这次可以看到 UZI 的所有队友们也都站了起来，特别是你， 来讲讲你这次在这个舞台上为什么能表现如此出色，你有什么样的感受？
就非常感谢队友们啊，确实在来之前我们的训练状况不怎么样，当时自己也特别的懊恼自己打得不好，但是队友们一直给我鼓励啊，这样子就慢慢的信任我、接受我这样，然后让我慢慢找回状态，就非常感谢队友们。
So he's just so grateful to have his teammates. He wasn't perform as well in the earlier days in their scrims, but however, the team keep trusting him, giving him the confidence to come back. So he's really grateful to have his teammates.
And that trust delivered them the title. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Tremendous performance. Back over to you guys.
I mean, one more time, again, another member of the supporting cast here behind Uzi coming up with some huge engages, especially on that Ornn and being charged with dealing with who the man that was said to be the best top laner in the world coming in.
I watched that guy debut. I was caster of the LPL back in 2015 when Xiaohu and Let Me were on Gamti. They were a fun up-and-coming team. You see so many years of seasoning, so many seasons of playing, allowing him to make those solid decisions on the Ornn and on these defensive picks. And I was struck by what he was saying about Kingzone, the fact that they did look desperate. That's kind of the thing you noticed about Kingzone this tournament, is that they were kind of coming up against their own hubris, the skeletons of SKT and things like that. There was so many moments of desperation that you didn't see in the LCK, and eventually they piled up, and RNG were the better team on the day.
And as far as trying to figure out the slow team versus the fast, aggressive, maybe helter-skelter team, it's never been the LPL being the slow team and the LCK being the fast team. And it's funny how the first time that happens in a best-of-5, it's the LPL that wins.
Well, there you have it. That's the conclusion of the first international event of 2018. But if you're itching for a rematch between these powerhouses who slugged it out today, Kingzone and RNG will be facing off again in just a couple of months as Rift Rivals returns the week of July 2nd. We asked for more international play, more top-tier play, and we're going to get it just then.
Yeah, and it's also the Flash Wolves joining them as well from the LMS. So after a surprising emergence from Flash Wolves, you got that to look forward to. You got LCK, you got LPL. It's a great tournament.
Got NA versus EU.
Right, that's, you know, come on.
Doesn't matter the
Premier League
tiebreaker. It really matters. They're coming to NA and getting smashed.
Yes, and we're going to be there to watch it. Papa Smithy, we already hit on it briefly, but kind of the idea that perhaps now Korea will have a chip on the shoulder. The idea that where maybe in the past they feel as the most dominant region that they can walk it. Now they got something to prove. They got to strike back as the MSI scoreline is 2-2.
And that's the excitement, is that it's kind of an expectation that Korea always wins. It's not just true in the English-speaking community. It's the same thing in Korea. There will be criticism. There will be people that will have to bounce back from this. But seeing them no longer in that position of just owning every title, not Rift Rivals Championship, maybe you can put that to one side. The MSI Championship, you can't reconcile that. So it will be a really exciting summer, and potentially we'll see some new faces when it comes to Worlds.
Yeah, and I want to see how they deal with this criticism as well, because sometimes losing international tournaments like this can either motivate a team to be better or it can actually break them, because they didn't necessarily face adversity in the LCK season. Peanut was dominant in the LCK season. He was not dominant here at MSI. They were subbing in Cuz. I know that he was getting a lot of criticism from the Korean community. So how a team deals with failure can often be more illuminating than how a team deals with success. And now Kingzone with this new roster with Peanut has to deal with some failure.
And as we put a capper on this tournament, one more time, I want to recognize where we are, the venue, the crowds that we played to, that these guys on stage. Again, remember, these are two foreign teams to the country that stepped up onto this stage and heard thousands and thousands of cheers, led, of course, by the French casters themselves. Uzi talking about it, saying in an interview, sometimes I feel like my foreign fans are more supportive or in larger numbers than the ones I have domestically. I can only imagine what that would have felt like to have stepped on this stage and then to come away with the victory in front of them.
Yeah, Paris has just been a wonderful host to the entire MSI tournament. And again, hats off to Chips Noi. The fact that they were, motivating the crowd, the Kingzone, the RNG chants, the whole stadium, my body just shook with anticipation around this. And you can even hear the French crowd going off again as the LPL squad gather around to take
the entire org.
Yeah, their last photo.
It's photo time, man, and they deserve it here back center stage as an entire squad still wearing their medals.
Yeah, and I also wouldn't have expected the Uzi from 3 years ago to wait for his entire team to grab the trophy. I know that seems like a minor thing, but it has so much been all about Uzi, and I think Uzi is doing a good job of deferring and crediting his teammates this time.
And now I just want to skip to Worlds already. And of course, there's a lot of action before them because I want to know, is this a moment of a sea change coming through, or is this just a blip? We don't know right now. It's certainly a very significant result for this massive market in China, for Uzi, and for Legacies. But where it's going from here, we've had Korean dominance for so long. Now there's no guarantees, and that just makes it all a little bit more spicy.
Uzi and the rest of the RNG squad. Much deserved victory here in Paris, France, but that is going to do it for MSI 2018. So for myself, the casters, and the entire live broadcast crew, thank you, Paris. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time for more international action.